Congrats on the win, my man. The name is Swift, but that was hard 15 minutes. And now you're official. Like you and Pops have made history.
Yeah, that was crazy, right? Felt like another Aaron Tao type of fight on the contender series. So yeah, I hope I gave the fans what they wanted to see.
Only because I'm curious, how close was that standing guillotine in the last like 5 seconds?
Oh, it wasn't close at all. Yeah, I've been. I hate to say this. I've been in those situations in sparring. So just being tough. I saw where the clock was. I was like, he's gonna have to like really put all his strength into it if he wants to get me out. There's no way I'm about to fumble this in the last 5-10 seconds.
Right. You look good. Not too much damage.
Yes.
Morales got banged up, man. Your hands look good tonight, buddy.
Yeah. I didn't realize the uppercut that cut him.
Clean.
I didn't realize. I knew it landed clean, but I didn't realize it cut him. I heard DC say, "Oh, that cut him," and then after that, I started smelling the iron and the blood, and I was like, "Oh yeah." And then when we finally got up to the feet and I saw his face, I was like, "All right, now let's start targeting that. Let's start throwing out some jabs and following up a little bit." But yeah, just staying sharp and not slipping up and making a mistake. Just being smart.
And as such a young guy in the game, I have to give you your credit that you're coachable and can listen. How's the talk like in between rounds? Even if you see the blood, even if you're getting the better of the scrambles, for Pops and him to say like, man, keep it together. We got time to work. Don't get crazy out there. Don't give him openings.
Yeah, I think that really came down to the contender series. The contender series was such a crazy scramble and on short notice. I think this time around we definitely game planned the perfect game plan. And we went over some code words, things, and just to make sure that when we came into this fight, we were successful. And I always felt like I was always really good at being coachable, whether if it was my pops or somebody else. Just being coachable, I learned that at a young age, playing football, wrestling. That's the coaches, the best athletes are the ones who are able to be coached.
What was the game plan going in? And I know it sure as hell wasn't getting get kicked low like that in the first couple seconds. Oh, that was horrible. We all felt that.
Yeah, no, that was 100% still. That was the game plan for sure. Was to keep at range with the jab, and I watched a bunch of fights. I cross trained up with Factory X, like being with Yusuf and Chris Gutierrez. I mean, Chris Gutierrez, me and him we sparred a lot this training camp, and that guy's calf kicks is crazy. And of course, I watched his fights, him and Jonathan Martinez fight. They both fought Vince Morales, and we saw that Vince, he still has hard time dealing with the calf kick. So I was like, you know what? I don't throw too many kicks, but we're gonna throw kicks tonight, though. We're gonna keep targeting that calf and popping with the jab, 1-2, and mixing the wrestling and grappling.
Your conditioning was so on point. Once we get to see because we're back here, they cut to you having just a little talk, but you weren't even breathing heavy. Like that's insane how your cardio was just on point with your kind of like a debut, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that was the one thing that kind of like frustrated me because everybody after the contender series, I heard people that are like, oh, Elijah, he's good, but he gasses out at the tail end, and I even saw an interview of Vince saying like, we're gonna take him into deep waters, and me and my pops, we said if that's his game plan, if he thinks that we're gonna fade in these 3 rounds this time, he's gonna have another thing coming for him. That's because I just made it a game plan or I made it a point that wasn't gonna be the reason why you beat me. If you were gonna beat me, you were gonna beat me off of just pure, you were just better than me, not because I got tired.
Right. Were you surprised at how much they were on this attack to try to get like darces and stuff on the ground, or were you ready for that too?
Yeah, I want to say I was ready for it, but I kept finding myself in those positions, so that's something that we're definitely going to go back and work on. There was when he had the anaconda, man, that was pretty tight. I'm not going to lie, that was pretty tight. At one point in time, I did wheeze a little bit. I was like, yeah. I was like, ugh. But I was like, man, I thought about tapping, but I just couldn't. I was like, no. We're going to tough this out. Because I know what it feels like to have an anaconda choke and your arms are getting burnt out. How do I know? Because that's what happened to me on the contender series. So I felt his arms like he start loosening up. And once it just takes a little bit of space. And that's all I need. And once I felt that, I was like, okay, we're good. I just had to be real calm in that position, really calm.
It's awesome, man. A lot of maturity, a lot of patience for such a young guy. The year just started, 8-1. Give me kind of like an idea of what we can expect for you, the 2025. What's it looking like?
So yeah, I actually said this earlier. 2025, I want to be, at least get 2 more fights. Always been a pretty much active fighter. If I don't have any injuries, and I feel like I don't have any injuries, just soreness, bumps and bruises, whatever. But I want to go out there and show everybody Elijah Swift Smith. I feel like I haven't shown that yet, even though this was my debut, second fight for the UFC. But I want to show Elijah Swift Smith, and what that means is I want to go out there and get a finish. And there was a couple of times where I got to the back tonight, and I felt like I could have got the rear naked choke, but I just got I got too excited and kept slipping off, especially with all the blood and the sweat. I think that's something. Of course, we go back to the gym, look at the tape, and just like Elijah, just settle down. You have the position, just slowly work towards the finish. Because I really felt like I had it. I just got too over jealous.
Right on, man. Well, there's plenty of more time to work. Congrats on the win. Welcome, official.
Thank you.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I know you said you wanted to get that finish because you go back and you look before your time before the UFC, before the contenders, it was finished by KO, finished by submission. Is that the sort of stuff that sort of weighs on your head, or is it just a matter of you're looking at the level of competition now that you're inside the UFC? Everybody's at a super high level.
Yeah, when it comes down to like finishes, I try not to look for the finish. I want it to come to me naturally. Because if we're sitting in the fight looking for the finish will never come. So you have to let that finish come to you naturally. And I think just being in the UFC, guys are a lot tougher, a lot more durable. So finding the finish in the UFC, it's hard, which is why they want to find guys in the regional scene who have finishes. Because if you get finishes in the regional scene, they see it as if you can do it in the UFC. And I want to be able to show the world and show Dana White that Elijah Smith can go out there and get a finish.
How do you keep that balance of wanting to deliver the finish, but also not going out there looking too hard for it, and possibly putting yourself into a bad position because you're searching for it too hard? How do you maintain that balance out there?
Oh, that's a good question. I kind of just go with the flow. Again, like I said, I don't think about the finish. We all want to get the finish, but we're fighting the toughest of the tough. So just let it come naturally to you. Don't let it, eat you alive. The biggest thing is just thinking about your fight and knowing what you can do. So once you think about that and not think about the finish, who knows? You might come in and run into a finish. So, yeah.
And you mentioned, in that choke, you're starting to think about the things, and you felt that little bit of space. Are you also in the back of your mind hearing your coaches saying, "There's only a few seconds left," or you hear that clapper? Do you hear those things, and does it immediately calm you down a little bit, knowing that the end of the round is really, really close?
When I was when he had me in the anaconda, I didn't hear shit.
Yep.
I was like, I just gotta. It was just me, myself. In my head, I was like, Elijah, well, damn. I was like, how did we get here? Well, you're gonna have to figure it out, and toughed it out. But I do hear, like, in between my coaches, or in between the round, I do hear my coaches, yelling out the code words that we talked about. And even, like, I hear him saying, yo, 2 minutes left. I do hear that. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty about being in the Apex, is that it's super quiet. You can really hear everything. I was hearing, like I said, I heard Daniel Cormier, when I hit him with the uppercut, say, oh, he cut him bad. And, yeah, I definitely am really aware of my surroundings when I'm not being choked, okay?
Yeah. Well, that's got to get you pretty hyped up here in D.C. commenting and saying you got a good strike in there.
Yo, I heard him too. He was like, Elijah has a good jab. He's popping him. His striking is looking good. I was like, I'm over there fighting. I'm like, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, you're right. That was hyping me up a little bit. That's
awesome. Congrats on the victory. It's good to see you in here again.
Thank you. Happy to be here again.
Elijah, just one for me. I know after your last fight in the Contender Series, you said that you dealt with a lot of trolls from your opponent's fan base. Did any of those stick around for this fight, or was it just kind of smooth sailing?
Smooth sailing, man. Thank God. I don't know. Maybe I do need the trolls. Maybe that's something that like kind of gets me fired up. But Syndicate and Vince and their camp and John Wood, they're always. I mean, I chatted a little bit when I first found out about the fight because me and Vince we've sparred together back when I was an amateur, and it was his first stint in the UFC. So we kind of it was no bad blood. Respect each other, knowing that he's a veteran. And when they gave us the fight, we were like, yo. I actually sent him a message. I was like, yo, it's nothing but business, but I'm still a fan of you, and we just go out there and go put on a show. So yeah, no sticklers this time.
But you would prefer them, or it just doesn't matter?
It doesn't really matter, because fans are going to talk. Whether if you could win in a good way, and fans are still going to be like, Elijah this, and of course if you lose, they're always going to say something. So it's just sticklers. There's something that they're part of the game, and just knowing how to deal with them. I typically just turn off my phone, or yeah, if you're not with me, then you're against me. So if you're against me, then I don't give no energy.
100%. That's awesome, man. Congratulations.